The Briley brothers, Linwood, James, and Anthony, were growing up in Richmond, Virginia. The neighbors knew them as helpful, providing assistance with car repairs and lawn maintenance. The brothers would change once their parents separated. Their dad apparently kept his door padlocked overnight to protect himself from the three boys. In January of 1971, Linwood, only 16, aimed his rifle out of the window and shot his neighbor for no reason, killing her. However, his lawyer convinced the judge that it was only an accidental shooting and he only served a year in jail. After this, the three brothers, along with another accomplice, would embark on one of the deadliest killing sprees in the history of Virginia. Welcome to History's Biggest Villains. Linwood was born March 26, 1954. James, or JB, was born on June 6, 1956. And Anthony, the youngest, was born on February 17, 1958. All three boys were brought up by their parents, Bertha and James Sr. The boys' upbringing was pretty normal, as they were known around the community as helpful to the neighbors, as they would assist with car repairs and cutting lawns. The boys liked to collect dangerous pets such as tarantulas, piranhas, and boa constrictors, as they got pleasure from feeding live mice to their boa. This unnerved their father to the point where he would padlock his door from the inside while he slept. The first murder committed by a Briley brother was completely random. On January 28, 1971, 16-year-old Linwood saw his neighbor, 57-year-old Orlean Christian, hanging some clothes on a clothesline. He then grabbed his rifle and fatally shot her from his bedroom window. Initially, it was thought that she died from a heart attack, but as she was being prepared for burial, an employee at the funeral home saw a hole in the back of her dress and dried blood. Upon further examination, a small caliber bullet wound was discovered underneath her armpit. The police had figured out the trajectory of the bullet at the crime scene, and they determined that it came from the Briley residence. They went there and found Linwood and the murder weapon, saying, "I heard she had heart problems. She would have died soon anyway." Oh my god, that's cold. Somehow his lawyer was able to convince the judge that the killing was accidental, so Linwood was sent to reform school for a year. JB was on the same destructive path as his brother, as he had been arrested at 16 for attempted murder when he shot at a police officer who was chasing him. In 1979, the three Briley brothers, along with an accomplice, Duncan Eric Meekins, began their random killing spree that would terrorize Richmond. On March 12th, Linwood knocked on the door of couple William and Virginia Butcher, claiming that he had car trouble and needed to use their phone. As they opened the door, Linwood forced his way inside, holding the couple at gunpoint before waving Anthony in. The two brothers tied the couple up and ransacked the house before dousing each room in kerosene as they tossed a match before leaving the house. The two packed a TV, a CB radio, a .32 caliber pistol, and jewelry in their car and sped away. William managed to free himself and his wife as they were able to escape right before the house burst into flames. They would be the only survivors of the killing spree. On March 21st, Michael McDuffie was fixing a vending machine when he was approached by the crew, as they beat him up, robbed him, and shot him to death. On April 1st, Linwood shot and killed 28-year-old Edric Clark over a drug dispute involving Meekins. On April 9th, the brothers followed 76-year-old Mary Gowan as she was leaving her babysitting job. As she walked into her home, they forced themselves in, beating and raping her before shooting her. They then robbed her house of multiple items. On July 4th, the crew saw 17-year-old Chris Phillips hanging around Linwood's car. As they suspected that he was trying to steal it, they surrounded him and dragged him into a nearby backyard before wrestling him to the ground. As he screamed for help, Linwood dropped a cinder block on his head. On September 14th, John Gallagher had stepped outside for a break between his DJ sets at a Richmond nightclub. The brothers, who had been looking around town for a victim, stumbled upon Johnny and approached him. Linwood beat him up and threw him in the trunk of his own Lincoln Continental. He was then driven to the ruins of a paper mill on Mayo Island, where he was thrown out of the trunk and fatally shot in the head. Linwood stole his ring and divided up $6 from his wallet. They then dumped Johnny's body in the river, as he was found 2 days later. On September 30th, the brothers followed 62-year-old nurse Mary Wilfong into her Richmond apartment. They surrounded her outside her door, then Linwood beat her to death with a baseball bat as they ran inside her apartment and ransacked it. On October 5th, just 2 blocks away from the Briley's home, they broke into the house of 75-year-old Blanche Page and her 59-year-old roommate Charles Garner. Blanche was bludgeoned to death, while Charles was beaten and stabbed with several objects, including a baseball bat, 5 knives, a pair of scissors, and a fork, as the scissors and fork were left embedded in Garner's back. The final murders took place on October 19th. The brothers were looking for more victims when they saw Harvey Wilkerson, a longtime friend of theirs. Harvey was living with his pregnant wife Judy and her 5-year-old son Harvey, so when he saw the brothers down the street, he closed and locked the door. The brothers saw this and walked to the door. Harvey was terrified of their response if he didn't let them in, so he opened the door. Harvey and Judy were quickly overpowered and gagged with duct tape. Linwood and Duncan both took turns raping Judy, well within earshot of Harvey. Linwood ransacked the house, then left. The remaining three covered the family with sheets, as JB told Duncan, "You've got to get one." So he took a pistol and shot Harvey in the head. JB then shot Judy and little Harvey to death before they all fled the residence. Police discovered the bodies 3 days later, as they arrested all three brothers. Duncan was offered a plea deal in order to testify against the Brileys. He took the offer and provided a full detailing of the crime spree. As a result, he escaped the death penalty and was incarcerated under an alias at an out-of-state prison away from the Brileys. Under the agreement, Meekins was given a life sentence plus 80 years, which at the time of the conviction would make him eligible for parole after serving 12 to 15 years. A single life sentence with the eligibility of parole was handed down to Anthony, the youngest brother of the trio, due to his limited involvement in the killings. Because of Virginia's Triggerman statute, both JB and Linwood received numerous life sentences for the murders committed during the spree, but faced capital charges only in cases where they actually killed the victim. Linwood was sentenced to death for the abduction and murder of Gallagher, while JB received 2 death sentences, one for each of the murders of Judy Barton and her son Harvey. Both were sent to death row at Mecklenburg Correctional Center in early 1980. On May 31st, 1984, Linwood and James were the ringleaders of a 6-inmate escape from Virginia's death row. During the early moments of the escape, both Brileys expressed strong interest in killing the captured guards by dousing them with rubbing alcohol and tossing a lit match. Willie Lloyd Turner, another death row inmate, stepped in JB's way and blocked him from doing so. Meanwhile, Wilbert Lee Evans, another death row inmate, prevented Linwood from raping a female nurse. Evans was executed on October 17, 1990, despite pleas for clemency and confirmation from the guards, who said they owed their lives to him. The group's initial plan was to escape into Canada. 2 inmates, Lem Davis Tuggle Jr. and Willie Leroy Jones, almost succeeded, making it as far as Vermont, before being captured at gunpoint by police. Splitting off from their 2 remaining escapees at Philadelphia, the Brileys went to live near their uncle, Johnny Lee Council, in the north of the city. Captured on June 19th by a heavily armed group of FBI agents and police who had determined their location by placing wiretaps on their uncle's phone line. The remaining appeals ran out for both brothers. Several weeks before his execution, James Briley married a writer who believed his innocence claims, Evangeline Redding, on March 28, 1985, in a prison ceremony attended by his father, James Sr. The brothers were executed in the electric chair at the Virginia State Penitentiary in Richmond. Linwood on October 12, 1984, and JB on April 18, 1985. Linwood's last meal consisted of grilled tenderloin steak, a baked potato, green peas, a salad with French dressing, rolls with butter, cake, peaches, punch, and milk. His last words were, "I am innocent." JB's last meal consisted of fried shrimp and cocktail sauce with a lemon-lime flavored soda. In his final moments, he smiled at the witnesses and twice asked them, "Are you happy?" Before JB was executed, Shirley Hayes, the mother of Judy Barton, pleaded for him to admit his guilt. She said that she didn't believe in capital punishment, but she asked him to confess so his soul would be right with God. The day JB was executed, fellow inmates tried to delay the process by attacking the guards with homemade knives. 9 guards and 1 inmate were injured. Anthony was convicted of 4 counts of first-degree murder, 3 of those for the Barton family murders. He received a life sentence plus 119 years, with the possibility of parole. He avoided capital murder charges since it couldn't be proven that he committed any of the murders. He is incarcerated at Augusta Correctional Center, about 20 miles outside Staunton, Virginia. As of today, all his applications for parole have been denied, as have those of Duncan Meekins, even though he accepted a plea agreement. Oh man, this whole case is just wild because it all starts with a random killing. And it seems like all these killings are just random. Like, you're not even really getting anything when you're robbing these people. And the fact that Duncan told on them and he's still not out of jail. They gave him a plea agreement saying that he would be out after 12 to 15 years. And this was back in the 80s. And it's 2025 and he's still in jail. Like, shooting a 5-year-old little boy. That's really what got me. 5-year-old boy, old ladies, a pregnant woman. Like, you're raping a pregnant woman and then you shoot her 5-year-old son? All you deserve to be underneath the jail. They just went around just killing people because they could. I'm trying to figure out how he convinced the judge that that was an accidental killing. Like, how did he convince the judge that was accidental? Like, oh, he accidentally aimed a rifle out the window and shot that woman. I don't know how. That's ridiculous. I can't understand it. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all you guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed that. Subscribe button if you see the channel. Don't forget to turn on my post notifications if you haven't already. Thank you. Please be safe. Stay on the grind. I'm out. Peace.